it's the proudest day, and the proudest time, and the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all was said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome along to Krunching Gears, the Rally Podcast, Season 2, Episode 8. Connor, you're very welcome along as always.
Thanks, Kevin. Favourite time of the week, and again, another jam-packed show.
Oh, it's bunkers again this week. We look back at the round 1 of the ERC. We speak to Hayden Paddon, and then we speak to John Armstrong and Andrew Browne. We also look at round 1 of the British Rally Championship with Malcolm Wilson stages there. We speak to second place finisher Mikie Galvin, who's sitting on Jay Coleman, and we also catch up with Jay Coleman, another new upcoming driver there as well. And then round 2 of the Northern Ireland Rally Championship, we speak there to the winners, Jonny, Greer and Niall Burns. And then we also speak to a couple of competitors from the Micra Challenge. We catch up with Clodagh, McMorrow and Stevie Whitford. And then to round off the show, we look forward to is West Cork, and Kevin O'Driscoll there helps us look forward to West Cork, and that's going to be another bunker event. But what can we say? Jam-packed show. I think, Connor, without further ado, you're the man that caught up with Hayden Paddon, and you asked him, was he happy how his weekend went?
Yeah, obviously pretty happy. Certainly more than what we expected going into the weekend with the level of competition, and but yeah, to come away with the win is certainly unexpected and almost the perfect. Well, it is the perfect way to start the season.
And your original plans last year was to be the WRC2 campaign. That obviously changed, and I presume now you're doing a full season of the ERC. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have a full season. So we did a bit of a pivot from what we learnt last year, and just the budget that's required, and at the end of the day, we ultimately had to ask ourselves the question: what's given us the buzz for this rally? I'm at a different point in my career, and it's not about proving myself to try and get in the WRC anymore. That ship sailed. It's now about being out there to win, to be able to put our team in a competitive place, and to most importantly enjoy what we're doing. And ERC presents better opportunities for us for that. And
Rally Faf, kind of the weather really was not favourable at all for anybody. It was wet, muddy, pretty difficult conditions at time. What was your approach to the event?
Yeah, well, I think the rally's becoming pretty renowned for those with the conditions now. So we somewhat expected it, and when you expect it, it's never quite as bad. So Saturday obviously wet and pretty tricky conditions. We got caught out in some pretty bad weather there on one stage in particular. But by the time Sunday came around, it was actually pretty good conditions for Sunday. So in general, I think it was actually, we got away pretty lightly compared to what it was looking like earlier in the week.
And as well as the mud and the ruts, there was also a lot of big rocks and stones around. What was it like from a tyre management point of view?
Yeah, difficult. Certainly pretty rough. Any time you go to Portugal Rally, obviously nice stages, but they do get quite rough on the second pass. So, the tyres that we run in ERC are much the same, but they're not the super reinforced ones like what you see in the WRC. So they are a weaker tyre, and you do have to drive with that in mind. And that does mean there is an element of protection. You got to have enough margin in your driving to allow yourself to drive around rocks or to miss the bedrock and things to try and not punch it. So that was always the plan from the word go, and we stuck to that, and luckily we were able to avoid all punches.
And with your tyre management strategy, were you carrying one spare or two, or did that alternate throughout the 2 days?
Oh, no, we were committed to carrying one spare a weekend. We didn't want to put the extra weight in the car, but it was just a matter of being clever and smart. So, we still pushed on throughout the weekend. Like, we weren't driving slowly, but we weren't taking any risks, and we didn't have any moments throughout the whole weekend, and keeping it neat and tidy was the name of the game.
And the difference between one spare or two, like, is that to the speed? Is it to the overall balance of the car, or a bit of both?
A bit of both. Extra weights, obviously, less performance. How you actually, there is some calculations, and it does differ between fast and twisty roads, but it does also affect the balance of the car, and the confidence that the driver can lose or gain from that is not something you can really measure in terms of time loss. So, hey, we chose to carry one spare, and we're comfortable doing that with the short length of stages that there were.
And, obviously, what do you call it? You've been to Portugal before, and it hasn't been kind to you in the past. So, fantastic to get the victory there. But again, the ERC this year has attracted some bigger names, or particularly for the first round anyway. Were you, going just with doing your own thing in mind, or were you going out there to benchmark, or against, some of the other competitors, or what was the plan?
It was just to try and get a strong championship start, to be honest, to get some good points. Looking at the entry list was, quite amazing, to be honest. It's probably one of the most competitive fields in terms of the number of fast drivers in one rally that I think I've probably ever done. There's 30, 35 very fast drivers, a lot of very fast young drivers as well. You see stage times varying quite a lot, and if you had a bad stage, rather than just being 5th or 6th fastest, you could have been 15th or 20th fastest. So it was so incredibly close, and that shone through in qualifying as well. We probably had a bit of an average qualifying, which put us on the back foot. But I think at the start of the rally, if you said we could have had a top 5, I probably would have taken that and built on that for the rest of the season. So that probably puts in perspective of how much of a bonus that a win is.
And what do you call it? You mentioned the qualifying there. With the conditions of the stages, particularly on the Saturday, how important was road position?
Oh, huge. And we knew it was. And, at the end of the day, when we qualified 8th, we got no one but ourselves to blame for our poor road position to Saturday, because we simply didn't qualify good enough. The whole qualifying thing's something quite different to us. And, I'm not sure I'm a big fan of it, but nevertheless, that's the way it is, and we've got to learn how to adapt to that better. But for sure, Saturday in the rain, that hampered us quite a lot, especially on stage 4, I think it was, where the stage conditions deteriorated quite considerably with each car. So but luckily, there was a few stages cancelled, which probably played into our hands in terms of limiting the amount of time that we did lose. So then come Sunday, when we were all on the same road conditions, it was more plain or even playing field.
And Sunday, you made some changes to the setup, and you seem to be a lot more comfortable in the car. I think you even remarked that it's the best feeling you've had in 6 or 7 months. What was it that kind of made the car come to you, or you come towards the car on day 2?
We just made some diff changes. So based on some knowledge that we'd done with the car previously, and then we also made some other changes to the car prior to the event. So, and then it sort of just clicked. It was just sort of working a lot easier and better. And, on Sunday we were a lot more competitive, but we weren't necessarily, trying to make it happen. It was happening a lot easier because the car was working better. So, that bodes well for the future, that there's more in the car and more of myself. And we're certainly making some good inroads in the development of it. And
what do you call it? I suppose the surprise leader for the event was Mikie Galvin, who, we hadn't really heard much of, apart from winning the Finnish Championship last year. I suppose from your perspective, was it, strange or to see, Mikie leading the rally and been managing to maintain that lead for most of the event as well?
Not at all. Fully expected it. He was probably one of my top 5 competitors going into the rally. We saw last year he was, I think, 2nd or 3rd in Latvia when we were there. And he was on the podium in WRC2 in Finland we were competing against him as well. So both times that we were competing against him last year, he had the upper hand over us. So we've seen firsthand how fast he is. He's a very good driver, and obviously a complete shame what happened here in the last stage. It would have been nice to, and it would have been, I think, right on the edge of the seat, looking at the split time, of which way it would have gone at the finish line, and that would have been quite exciting for everyone. So it's a shame it ended the way it did.
Yeah, it's a pity. It was building up to a good finish there with just 2.8 seconds between you got into that final stage. And what do you call it? Rest of the season, as you say, competing on the rest of the ERC rounds. With spending so much time in Europe, is there any chance you might do a WRC2 round anywhere or get involved at all in any other events?
At this stage, our budget's fully committed to be able to do the ERC, so it's still a big commitment for us, and that's what we're focused on. We want to try and win that championship this year, so that's the goal. But we'll try and fit in some other events if we can. Obviously, we've got Barbados through June that we're looking forward to heading out there, and then we've got a New Zealand Championship campaign as well. So all in all, it's a very, very busy season. I think we've got something like 20 events over a 40-week span. So yeah, it's quite busy.
And for yourself, will you be basing yourself in Europe for much of that time, or will you be back and forward from between home?
No, much too much going on at home at the moment. So back and forth every time. So we'll be setting the clock up a few air miles this year.
So John, Andrew, fantastic outing on Rally Faf. And John, for yourself, 6 months since you last sat in a rally car competitively?
Yeah, it would be about 6 months since Greece, and didn't really know what it was going to be like going back. Obviously, it's not that big of a layoff, but you never really know. But to be honest, I just picked it up quite quickly again, and really enjoyed the event. It was a good challenge, and the stages in that region of Portugal I've done a few times now with whenever I've done WRC Rally Portugal. So I've always enjoyed them, and it was nice to go back there and essentially just push as fast as we could and see what sort of stage times we could do. It's a nice sort of job description to be given for the weekend or task. So we had a lot of fun doing it, me and Andrew.
And Andrew, that's I believe your first time in Portugal. Probably not the weather you normally associate when you hear the word Portugal.
Yeah, no, it was actually my second time, because I was there doing a tarmac rally before with Willie McGrady. But yeah, it was the first time on the gravel. So it was interesting to see them. I'd been over to WRC Portugal to watch it years ago, but it was down south, so I hadn't been in that area before to see them. But the stages were good. The Saturday stages were a little bit more difficult with the weather. But Sunday was real nice. There was lovely flow to it, and we could get some lovely speed with it, and get to really show what the car can do. So.
And Andrew, let's call a spade here. You got the golden ticket at the weekend. We all know, and everybody knows how good a driver John is, and we know you got to experience it firsthand. We know you sat with Wally McVitie and how good he is. We'll not really deny that for a second. But this guy has something special, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. There's one thing when you're sitting in with John, and I sat in with lots of different lads on tarmac and gravel out in America and stuff like that. But to sit in with John and go with the speed we were going at, you never felt it anyway in danger. It was a real safe feeling in the car. But that was just you could just see the ability that he had, and you never felt any way at risk or anything like it. And but just to witness it firsthand, I've always known of John being fast and that, but to actually see it and be very privileged, because not everyone does, to get a chance to sit in, but to actually do a whole rally with him and on the surface like that. And you can see from the videos that's been posted, the speed that he carries through the corners it's just like dancing. It's absolutely class. But in the car, when you're calling the notes, you don't get to actually, you feel it. You don't get to see a lot, and that's what myself and John were saying at the end of the stage. I'd be asking, was there many people on the stage, because you couldn't really see a whole while. Just your head is down, and you're just getting the feeling in the seat. But definitely, it's he has some ability behind the wheel.
And John, from your point of view, a different co-driver, does that be playing in your mind before the start?
Well, you never really know how it's gonna pan out whenever you've got a new co-driver, but it's something I've done a few times, and in the past, I've always went hard on a rally that I've done with the first time with a co-driver. It's never really held me back. So I guess in that sense, I didn't really have too many worries, and it was obviously quite a different challenge for Andrew to go and do an international rally in the European Championship, but we had good support from Brian, and he was able to help us with some areas, and even Andrew himself put in a lot of effort going over onboards with my notes before the rally got underway, just so that he could get used to calling them at that speed and get used to the words that I have in my notes. But it definitely, as you can see by the how we performed on the event, it definitely gelled well and we got on well together. I think that's what I said when we were on last week. You have to go with someone that you can get along with for long days, and each day gets longer whenever you've not slept that much the night before. So yeah, you have to be able to gel with each other and get on, and we got on like a house on fire, and just were honest with each other, but not in a hateful way or anything. Just be honest and try to push each other along, and try to get the best out of each other. I think that's what you have to do. And Andrew really put all of his effort into doing the best job that he could, and that was clear from from the start of the week. So it worked out really nicely.
I think, Andrew, from your point of view then, did you have to raise your game obviously then for last weekend as well?
Oh, definitely, because writing notes is something I do with Jack Newman, and with John, he has a lot more words in it. So prior to going over, I was watching his in-car and just trying to understand what each word meant as well, because it's easy to say the word, but it's actually to understand because as I said earlier, you're not actually getting to look out much, so you need to know where you are when you're calling the note. But with Brian on that as well, the help was there. So I got to know before we went, and then we got the test on the Wednesday, which really helped. And we're very glad of that, because at least it wasn't going into the shakedown for the first time of calling at the speed. So it made things so much easier.
Mm-hmm. And John, we've seen that, especially whenever the stages were wet, how badly they cut up in certain corners and one thing and another. Does that affect? Do you have to drive with that in mind, or or if whenever you're doing the recce, are you looking to see where you think might cut up, or what way do you approach that?
It's always very hard to know, but because the weather was so bad in the weeks leading up to the rally and during the recce, it was quite clear that there was going to be a lot of mud. There was going to be a lot of ruts, and the roads were going to get cut up. So it's something that I've had experience of through doing the World Championship. For three seasons and a bit, whatever I've done. So yeah, I've got a good bit of experience of driving and that, through the ruts, and how you need to position the car and stay in the rut, and it didn't really worry me too much. But obviously it's still never as enjoyable to drive when the stage is completely destroyed. And on Saturday, the first loop was actually not too bad, but then the first stage out of service on the repeat loop, it was probably as bad as I've ever experienced, to be honest. It was so rough, and it wasn't even muddy or anything. It was just destroyed, and a lot of rocks and bedrock in the ruts. But you have to go in the ruts, or else you'd be on the loose gravel that's been dug out on the outside, and you're just hemorrhaging seconds every time that you go onto that. So I was sure that we were going to have a puncture or something on that stage, but yeah, thankfully we got through it. But unfortunately, we lost a lot of stages on Saturday as well through the weather, and one of them got cancelled because of Armando's crash as well. So yeah, then it became a bit of a like a regularity rally. We had to just go and drive around the countryside and go check in at the start of each stage had been cancelled. It was quite bizarre, but yeah. Then on Sunday, we had a full run at it, and we just I just went flat out the whole day, pretty much. I was driving as well as I've ever done, I think, on gravel, especially twisty gravel. And I was really happy with what we were doing in the car, and the car was performing really nicely too. Obviously, we're just lacking a bit of power compared to the Rally 2s, so we couldn't keep up all the time. But some of the stage times were really encouraging, and in the ballpark of what our aim was with the team for the rally. So they seem to be satisfied with what we've done, which is always a nice feeling, when you're going there to not necessarily rally for yourself, but rally for a team, and you've got responsibilities to perform for them. It's pressure on your shoulders, but yeah, you just have to get on with it and try to do the best that you can.
I think you talked about that responsibility, like to put a Rally 3 Fiesta in the midst of these R5 Rally 2 cars, like that's pretty special. The team had to be delighted with the times you were putting in.
Yeah, well, like I said, you have that responsibility, and there's a challenge set out in front of you, and you either go for it or you're not gonna be around for much longer. So yeah, I just took it with both hands, and to be honest, like once everything starts to work well and the notes are flowing and you get into a rhythm with the car, you can just push. And like I said last week when I was on the podcast, you always try to keep improving. And I think the stuff that maybe not the new stuff that I'm doing, but just trying to find new ways to think about things or to approach certain sections of a stage. You start to find a tenth here or there just by thinking about things slightly differently. So yeah, no, overall it was very, very, very good event, and we're really happy with the pace. It obviously makes me want to get into a Rally 2 car even more, just to see what I could do against those boys, because I think we wouldn't have been a million miles away at the weekend.
And like Andrew, you seen it up close. What do you think this guy could do in a Rally 2 car?
Well, definitely be at the front of it anyway. There's no doubt there. 100%, because some of the lads he was racing over the last couple of years was in the Rally 2 cars, and they were setting times of the top 2 or 3. So no, there'd be no hassle if John got the chance of getting into one of them cars. He'd be definitely at the front end of it. So we just have to try and see can we find ways of getting him into that, because it's definitely somewhere he should be. Like getting the chance of going competing in the Rally 3 car is brilliant, but to actually get out and be at the front end, because you can see the performance that he's putting in with the Rally 3, like it's something special. So if he had that extra power and the better suspension with that the Rally 2 car would have, I think he's definitely up the front end of it. Like, so anyone has any spare cash wants to get him into one, definitely get in contact with John.
Connor, do you want to jump in there?
Yeah, I suppose, John, just with the mixed conditions there was, and the fact that the stages were cutting up and a lot of rough rocks and stones, how do you go about tire management? Like, what is the approach? And again, when you're trying to set quick times and show what you can do in the car, how do you balance it out?
It's a good question. Thankfully, when the weather is like that, because it's such a sandy surface in Portugal, in that region, the tire wear actually isn't too bad. And we were using K8 for rally, which you would never really use even back home, just because back home the gravel is a lot more abrasive. But it works really well whenever it's wet and a bit sandy. So yeah, you try to look after them, not damage them too much in terms of if you see a big rock on the line, you'll try and put the wheel either side of it. It might compromise your line slightly, but that's one way to sort of save getting a puncture or damaging a tire or a rim. But then we'll just basically in a loop we'll rotate the tires around the car too, sort of back to front, just to even out the wear that the tires are getting. But at the weekend, to be honest, the tire wear wasn't a big issue, and it was just a matter of trying to avoid punctures mostly, and then push on as much as we could. But even that sort of stuff, I think from Andrew's point of view, there's a lot more things that you're doing to sort of find performance that would have been new to him, and Andrew might be able to list some of them off, but there's lots of things that you're always doing to try and just get the extra bit of pace.
Andrew, do you want to jump in there?
Well, I didn't see a whole pile. All I was doing was calling the notes. So, but as you say with the tires, there was it's something I haven't seen, and with the lads, with the engineer, John, they were with the engineer, they were flat out between stages, getting the setup right, and just change this, change that. It's the actual what they're doing behind the scenes is nuts. To what actually a click here, a click there can do to the car, and that. But there's lots of little things that they be doing that helps the performance of it. But I don't know. Can't really say much more of the tricks.
But Andrew, from your point of view, the Faf jump is probably one of those iconic, it's been about since forever, at this stage, to go over that and probably be one of the highest over it. That's going to be something you're going to look back in a few years' time and go, I was sitting in that car there, Pretty cool, isn't it?
It's nuts, because even in the car, it didn't feel as much as it looks on the outside. It was so smooth across it, and the landing was lovely. The car is so settled across it and takes the impact when it lands so well. But the photos and the videos from it is nuts. And even when we were coming up to it, I remember us coming up, and then John was coming off the power, and I was like, we're just gonna just dip across this, and then you just flew, and it was nuts. So but but there's another jump in that stage as well, which is as big, and John even said it himself. He thinks it's as good as the main one that everyone knows. But that's a savage stage, and for us on the last stage to get the chance to run first on the road and open the stage and have the helicopter chasing us, that was something surreal, to see that in front of us, and then to get to look back at the coverage later on. It's definitely something I'll be saving and showing to as many people as I can, and to people who don't have a clue about rallying. And I've already been at that since I'm home.
And do you be aware of the helicopter above you?
Yeah, well, you could see it when we were coming on the real fast section, and it came in front of us. You could see it off to the left. But it's from even the start of the stage, you could see it starting off, but it was something that you just had to put out of your head, and just carry on, because you couldn't let it distract you, because if you did, then the flow in the stage wasn't going to work. So but no, it was definitely a cool thing, to even to have that covered, and for John to get that coverage, it was something serious. So hopefully that's the start of more for him.
Yeah, and John, that, as Andrew said there, that gets eyes on you, running first in the road. You are, whenever people tune in to watch that live coverage, it's John Armstrong they're seeing. That has to help, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. As Andrew said, it's one of those things that you always dream of doing. Even to be first on the road in an international rally in Ireland is a big thing, never mind in Europe. So it was something surreal just to be the first person that's attacking the stage that the spectators are waiting for. And, there's thousands on that stage, especially at the famous junction, with the Scottish flag for Colin McRae and everything. It's such a special place. But yeah, the live coverage is really, really cool, and it was amazing to be able to get that coverage, and for sure it gives you a bit of leverage to show people and try to entice new sponsors into getting involved and try and get us up that ladder a bit further and be able to see what we can do. For sure, it's still a lot of work, and it's hard. It's a lot of budget required, but we'll keep pushing. And for sure, it was a really nice thing to do. And whenever you see the helicopter, it can be a bit distracting, I think, for sure, especially if it's in your eye line or like straight in front of you. Hopefully I get more used to it if it happens again. But this time, I think one other time I had a helicopter following me, but this time it was a bit more like I'm going to switch on a bit more of a Colin McRae style now, just so it looks a bit better. Get the arse of her swinging out a bit more. But it was definitely something that was really, really cool to do.
And as Andrew said, going over the fast jump. Are you caught up so much in the moment, or is it a moment for you as well?
I've been lucky enough to do the jump a few times now, and it's probably more daunting on your first time. Like anything, you're probably a bit more worried, but thankfully with the Rally 3 Fiesta, it flies so level. The nose is always pointing up, but whenever you're going over a jump and it lands on the back wheels, so there's no danger of nosediving or doing end over end. So it's just pure enjoyment, and for sure it's a special jump and a special stage. So it's a real joy just to be able to get the chance to drive a rally car flat out down an iconic stage like that. And every time you get the opportunity, you have to enjoy it, and that's exactly what we done.
And John, obviously there would have been a plan going into this event and a target. So did you exceed target? Did you exceed expectations? Where like 20th overall is absolutely incredible in the Rally 3 car.
Yeah, I think it's probably thereabouts, to be honest, with what M4 Poland wanted. I think we set the sort of deficit per kilometer was in some stages a lot more than what the target was, and then in some stages it was bang on, and in some stages naturally it's a little bit more depending on the nature if there's more uphill sections. But yeah, overall they were really, really happy, and hopefully that we have got a good result now, that we can get maybe another rally under our belt. Of course, Renault are coming with their Rally 3 car, so it's going to be a manufacturer battle, which would be quite interesting to be part of. So yeah, let's see what happens. But for sure, I think they were happy with it, and it was a really good event, and much better than even last year when Azores we had good pace, but we had the problem with the water splash, and then obviously we didn't get that sort of result that we wanted. So there was one water splash in Faff, and I was being very careful to get through it without doing any damage this time. It was good to get through and get a result.
Lovely to hear from John and Andrew there. John is such a fantastic talent. Plans are all up in the air, and hopefully we will see him out sooner rather than later. And what do you call it then? I had the opportunity to catch up with Jay Coleman and Mikie Galvin to chat about the Malcolm Wilson rally, and started the conversation with Mikie asking how come the late entry.
I think it's always the story. It's always an 11th hour entry with us. This time it was particularly late. Only kind of got to go ahead on it a couple of days before we had to go. So it puts everything under pressure. Licenses, fair play to Motorsport Ireland. They turned around licenses real quick for us, and just everything gets last minute, trying to enter the championship and enter the rally and this and that, and accommodation bits and pieces. But look, it's the way it is for us always. It's always a last minute jobby, but it makes it a bit more exciting. But we got there and it was fine. Yeah, it was okay.
And look, is it a one-off or a rally at a time, or is this a full tilt at the fifth title again?
Well, I suppose the thing was, the first event was obviously this weekend, but the next one is until the end of May. So we were kind of saying we were going to go, and then the next day we weren't going to go, and we just kind of came to the idea that we should go and get the first one done and see how we can do, and then call it from there. So obviously the weekend went well. So yeah, all going well, we will be in the next one. The next one is until the end of May. There's such a big gap. They said if you were to leave this one go, you're kind of hanging around waiting for the next one and whatever. So look, this one obviously worked out, and we scored well on it. So we have all the way till the end of May now, till the Jim Clark, like whatever that is. Is it 6-7 weeks more, 8 weeks maybe?
Yeah,
even more than that, I'd say. Yeah, so it's a big gap. Like, it's probably the biggest gap. It is the biggest gap in the whole year. So we said, look, we'll get everything together and we'll go and do this one, because they're nice to have them in the bag later on in the year. You know what I mean?
yeah. And what do you call it? Arrived over there and there'd been a huge dump of snow. So again, not things still not going to plan.
Yeah. It was an early start on Thursday morning is when we were going to sail. So I took off from Killarney at 20 to 5, and I met snow going over the county, the border into Cork. So I said, geez, this is going to be a busy spin to Belfast. And then it was the most snow I ever saw in Ireland on a motorway. There was an hour of snow outside Dublin on the way up. So like, Jesus. So we tried to do as best we can to make the boat. And then when we got over, we started to drive into a bit of snow when we got closer to the rally. And then we said, God, what's this rally going to be like? We kind of, everyone was kind of chatting and whatever. And we were like, geez, what's going to happen? So we started the recce and we just drove. It was like, I've never been to Sweden, but it was the closest thing I'd ever imagined Sweden was. It was, there was 4, 5, 6 inches of snow. Like, it was crazy. We were saying this won't happen. There's no way. And everything seemed to be moving on. It was like, yeah, the rally will go on. And we were like, how is this going to happen? So we took off into the recce and going into the first stage of the recce. James Williams didn't get around the first corner.
Yeah.
He was stuck. He was stuck going around the first corner of Grisdale. And many more with him in the next couple of corners. So we were like, people aren't even able to do the recce. How's this rally going to go on? But it got worse as the recce went on, and as most people probably know, there was a couple of the stages pulled. It would have been, absolutely impossible to pass through, and God forbid if you had to get anything else but a rally car into the stage, there wasn't the hope. So it was a great call by them to pull the 3 stages. But yeah, it was a crazy weekend. We hadn't seen it for a few years, kind of snow like that. So it was intense.
And it was meant to be an 8-stage rally, as you say. There was 3 pulls, so it was already a bit of a sprint. But when it's down to 5 stages in tricky conditions, does the plan change at all?
Well, you see, Thursday evening it was all hustle bustle. We were speaking to the rally and speaking to the championship about maybe not running the rally at all, because some people, a few people went home after the recce. They didn't even continue. They said it's ridiculous and whatever. To be fair, the following day wasn't just as bad as the recce, but there was quite a bit of snow on Grisdale, all right. The 3 other stages, one of them we couldn't recce at all. One of the 3 that was pulled, we couldn't actually recce it. Nobody recce'd it, and the other 2 we did, but it was crazy, and some people never got through. So those 3 were gone. Grisdale was a kind of a half and half job, and Greystoke was pretty okay. We were hoping it wasn't going to freeze, but you have to bear in mind that Greystoke, which was run 3 times, is a testing ground. So, and then I am guessing the next question that's going to come up is about one of the Grisdale stages where we got held up. That was,
Yeah, well, and again, just before we get to that, I'm presuming, and for anybody else that's interested, I presume you're on forestry tires. There's no hint of studded or anything like that for the likes of this.
For the rally, yeah. It was, outside of the rally, it was everyone was actually questioning what tires they had on the recce cars, not the not to mind the rally cars. But for anyone out there that's looking to do a recce in the snow without studs, a winter tire, best tire ever. We did great in the Focus with a winter tire. The gravel tire seemed to be struggling, but a winter tire, fantastic. We didn't have a spot of bother.
Brilliant. There's a hint and a tip. And yeah, as you mentioned, so basically, second stage of the day, I think it was, you got a very good look at a Rally 1 Puma.
Yeah,
you probably wouldn't be used to seeing.
Yeah, I was excited to see the Puma because I've never actually seen it in the flesh, but I think I probably saw a bit too much of it on the second stage. Yeah, I'm kind of sick of it now. Actually, I don't want to see one for a while. Look, it was no one's fault. It was just, I suppose, it was very tricky conditions, and Jordan was, probably minding himself too. It's a big car inside in those stages, but it was just a pity for us because that was the stage where Keith was planning to do a bit of damage because Greystoke was going to be very hard. You just have to kind of survive in there, given the circumstances of knowledge and stuff. But yeah, very early in the stage, we got a sight of the Puma, and we came around the corner, and he was after kind of half spinning on the road. And if we were a second earlier, we might have just got in front of him, but he was just taken off when we came around the corner, and there was so much mud and dirt, lights didn't matter, mirrors were destroyed. So yeah, we got very unfortunate and got caught for a long way through the stage. It felt like a lifetime. We were probably caught for maybe over 5 miles, 4.5, 5 miles, which was an awful long time. We went into the next stage, then the other part of Grisdale. There was a Grisdale South and a North, and we went 3 quicker than the next one. So it just shows that we could have done there maybe a little bit better. But look, it is what it is. But
and you lost 25 seconds, I think, stuck behind the Puma. Is that right?
Well, you could call it that. It's kind of hard to call exactly what it would be, and I get that for the organisers too. But it is a kind of a tricky rule when you catch cars. It's just one of those things, really and truly. In rallying, you just don't want it to happen because there's no guarantee of getting anything back. People will tell you that, oh, you'll get this back and we'll compensate the time. Sadly, that's not the case all the time. Force majeure is another word that I have nightmares about. Force majeure. It happened to us in the Isle of Man as well in 2017, and that was the last round trying to win a championship and a looping stage, and we got caught behind the car and we never got the time back either. So yeah, it'll be something I'd like to see maybe tidied up at some stage in the rules. But look, it is what it is.
Yeah, look, completely, very unfortunate. But the fact that you lost 25 seconds, give or take, and you still held on to second place, and then, as you say, went on to take the stage win in the following stage, really was testament to yourselves, and I suppose keeping the head and, not letting things get to you and keeping it calm in the car.
Yeah. After that, we went out in front. We went out in front of the Puma after that. But Jordan didn't know we were there, obviously. So it's kind of, you can't be too cross about that. It just was kind of frustrating, and the fact that the rally was so short, we knew that, we probably weren't going to get that back. But look, we had a bit of power steering problems then later on, second last stage and stuff. So look, it was probably going to look like a second in a way, but it would have been just nice to maybe put a bit of pressure at the front. But the guys were great fun. It was great to compete with the guys, like, to be mixing with guys at that level. The guys are in Mexico today, so they're full-time drivers. So it was good. Yeah, it was exciting to meet them and have fun and be able to race with them. Yeah, it was a good weekend, to be fair.
Yeah. And you can nearly say a home advantage for Adrian Formo as well, considering the fact that that's M-Sport's testing ground.
It's obviously frustrating, like for him, that's the kind of comment he's probably getting with the last couple of weeks, saying, oh, it is home ground. I know, but the fact of it is that that is where those cars are developed, and we've only been there once, maybe twice before. But look, that's always the story when West Cork comes on. Everyone will say, oh, Keith knows all these stages, you know what I mean? And he's probably done stages in the UK more so than any of them, but it's always the story.
Yeah. And then, as you say, there's a bit of a gap, and then next up is the Jim Clark Rally, and that basically, that's the start of a series of 4 asphalt rallies. So, You know, is there a bit of confidence, I suppose, going on to tarmac, one after the other?
Yeah, you know, Keith seems to adapt really quickly to tarmac. That would be, I suppose, his comfort zone. He seems to be able to, you know, he could walk away from the car for a couple of years and, you know, hop back in and tarmac and be thereabouts, you know. Just, I don't know, set up everything wise. He's able to really adapt to the tarmac quicker. But the Jim Clark is a fantastic rally. That was an amazing rally last year. Not so much for Oisin and Noel, but we had a fantastic event last year, and obviously we won it. So we're going back to defend that, which is exciting. Hopefully, all going well.
All going well. And again, you know, speaking of Formo, like, it's a fantastic opportunity for you to benchmark yourselves against, you know, a works or a semi-works driver.
Yeah. Again, you know, I keep messaging, you know, saying how frustrating it was. Like, it would have been nice if we weren't held up and we got to, you know, race more throughout the day, but it just didn't happen like that. And I could see his frustration too, because he was wondering, were we going to get the time back? And, you know, fair is fair. Going into the last two stages, he should know whether we are going to get that time back or not. I know that's happened time and time again. So I could see his frustration there, but we were, you know, the same, because we weren't getting the information back. But he was coming back asking a couple of times whether it was going to happen or not, and I just couldn't give him a straight answer because I didn't know what was going to happen. But you could presume that it probably wasn't. But so he could kind of sit back then, go into the last two with a lead like that. So we kind of did the same then, really. We just sat back and took our second place, which is fine. Absolutely fine.
And, you know, with the gap you have before the Jim Clark, any plans to do any other outings, get a bit of a warm-up or some more seat time?
I would doubt it, actually. No, I don't think so. I can't see anything coming up. No, I'd imagine it would be straight in. Maybe a quick test or something like that, get the car set up in tar. It'd probably be back on tarmac for Daniel between here and there. I presume Daniel will be using the car. But no, I'd say to be straight to Scotland, yeah.
So KCJ, yourself and Adam Kofi competed on the Malcolm Wilson Rally. Tough weather conditions. How was it?
Yeah, it was definitely a tough one. Of course, we had wicked bad snow and ice, especially on, you know, the Thursday night and the Friday. So obviously recce was, you know, it was really difficult. 3 of the stages we couldn't even get through. Like, obviously it's done the convoy in the UK, so there was just cars getting stuck and we were getting stuck. So it definitely made life a lot more difficult. And even, you know, on the stages that we did recce, it was difficult to make notes because sure all you can see is just white and the lines in the road. So no, it definitely made life a lot harder. But of course the 3 stages got cancelled, but we still had you know, 5 stages there on Saturday we got with the rally. So I mean, it was good experience. You know, you had ice here and there and a bit of gravel. So no, it was actually quite enjoyable, to be honest with you.
And with the event getting shortened with the loss of the 3 stages, does that change your game plan of how you approach? Because it becomes pretty much a sprint, I suppose.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like 3 of the stages were in Greystoke Forest there, where M Sport do a lot of testing. And I mean, I actually found that stage quite tricky. You know, it's fast with a lot of, you know, big braking areas and stuff. So it's quite difficult. And then sure, there was 2 stages that I really did enjoy, Greesdale North and South, which I thought were brilliant stages. But yeah, it does. I mean, it kind of, especially in them conditions, it means, you know, you're going to have to try and get around a bit more rather than, you know, go flat out and try to do your best time. It's kind of becomes a case of, you know, let's get through this and keep the car on the road, you know. So yeah.
And what do you call it? You were battling against Kyle White and Kyle McBride, so really it was a bit of a competition for the Irish lads away from home.
That's exactly it, yeah.
How was the fight?
It was good. In the morning, of course, we were pretty close to the boys. I was a bit disappointed, all right, in the evening. Our pace kind of seemed to drop off a bit, and they kind of pulled away from us a bit. But I mean, look, for me, it was still good experience. I mean, of course, Kyle White, you know, he's a huge amount of experience in the BRC, you know, compared to what we have. And, you know, both of them probably have a bit more experience on gravel than I do. So, no, I was still happy to even be there, you know, close to them. It was really good, yeah.
Yeah, good opportunity to benchmark yourself against guys you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And of course, you know, the guys are sound, so we had a bit of fun along the way, you know.
Yeah. And okay, coming off gravel now, and you're going on to back onto tarmac for West Cork this weekend.
Yeah, back home now for West Cork this weekend, of course. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I never done West Cork before, but everyone says it's just unbelievable rally, so I'm looking forward now to getting my teeth stuck in again. Hopefully we can put up a good result again for the championship,
And what do you call it? I think last time out in tarmac was at Galway, or have you been out since?
Oh, I done Midlands as well.
Oh, you did Midlands, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Bit of seat time then before West Cork, then obviously.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's busy, like 3 rallies, 3 weekends in a row. It makes it, tough even, your preparation time, you're coming off Malcolm Wilson and now, you're straight into getting ready for the West Cork. But I suppose it's a good complaint too, isn't it, to be able to do it. So no, yeah, it's good, yeah. I love the tarmac, so really looking forward to it, yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Having, I suppose, getting the back-to-back between the tarmac and the gravel. Do you have a preference yet, or?
Sure, I probably do prefer the tarmac, but that's probably just because I have more experience on tarmac. Whereas, once you get into it on the gravel, I mean, it's brilliant too, But I think Irish tarmac it's kind of up there. It's hard to beat,
Yeah, and again, you've had that opportunity to compare. So you've done a couple of events in Italy at the tail end of last year. So how does it compare? Like, do you notice a difference in the pace or the competition or the style?
Yeah, I mean, the pace is huge, obviously over there. And there's a big difference for me. When you're used to Irish tarmac and then you go to real smooth, grippy, Italian tarmac, it's quite different. But I really enjoyed it. We had a good run over there. We were first in the under 25 category actually in Rally Tulagi. So no, we were really enjoyed the 2 events we done over there. And of course, big thanks to Tamara Molinaro and her father's G-Car Sport rally team over there. Really helpful, and we really enjoyed it, yeah.
And you've also been getting a bit of support from MI Academy as well. You're involved in doing some, recce's and pre-event work and fitness training, etc.
Yeah, of course. I'm not a member of the academy this year, but I was lucky enough to get a small bit of help off from here and there with regards to, mental preparation and fitness outside the rally. So no, it's really good help. It's great to be able to get it, and the things the academy are doing is brilliant. You look at the lads there; they're doing really well. So no, it was really good.
And you had the opportunity to do the recce for Sweden. Was that an eye opener? Was it just a shock to the system?
Yeah, I mean it was brilliant. We were lucky enough that Mr. Malcolm Wilson gave us a recce car for the recce there. So I mean we couldn't turn that down. So we went over there, and myself and Adam, of course. So no, it was brilliant. I mean, to get the experience to even see the stages out there and make pace notes on a totally different surface and stages is brilliant. And even the likes, you have your recce schedules and stuff like that. I mean, it's all good experience too,
And how was that even, learning to do the pace notes in the snow? I can only imagine you've got different markers you're looking for in the road, with the snow covering the road and the snowbanks and that.
Yeah, of course. It's it's hard to see, obviously, because everything is white, so you're really trying to pick your corners and pick markers and stuff like that. But and of course it's such a fast rally, compared to forestry that we're used to here or in the UK. I mean, it's really different. But no, it was good. I think we made pretty good pace notes for what we were doing. I mean, if you were going again, they'd be better too. So no, it was brilliant. Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah. I mean, you doing the full BRC this year?
Yeah, well, that's the plan for the moment. We're kind of entered in every championship at the minute, which of course is really busy. But the plan is to do most of the BRC as much as we can, along with the tarmac championship and the dual surface series here at home. And of course, our plan is to do a good bit of stuff out in Europe again this year. Especially in Italy. So it's all go, but I mean, it's good too,
Yeah. Oh no, it's fantastic to get back up the experience, but certainly means it's going to be a hectic year for you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sure, I'm barely even ever in work anymore, So no, it's good. I really enjoy it. All I want to do is go rallying, so it's a good thing, I suppose.
Absolutely, and the more experience you can get at this stage, the better. Then, and what do you got? What's the long term plans? Do you have anything sort of concrete yet, or is it still kind of see how this year pans out?
See how this year goes, I suppose. You know, we're still obviously in the Rally 4 class at the minute. I drove Rally 3 car for 2 events there over Christmas in Mondello Park and in Boggara Rally Sprint. And serious car, like, you know, really enjoyed it. But I don't know, see what happens towards the end of the year, I suppose, more than anything. You know, next year definitely though, I'd like to branch out a bit more, you know, outside Ireland. Whether it's, you know, ERC or JWRC or whatever it brings, you know, that kind of way. But I mean, you definitely have to have a goal, you know, like, and obviously that would be the goal, you know, that kind of way. So
So look, you've a lot planned for the coming year, but you know, I'm sure it's tight getting the funds together. Like, is it a struggle to get sponsors on board?
yeah, I mean, it's always tough. Everyone knows it's an expensive sport, but of course, big thanks to my dad, obviously number one, Shurway Group, and my couple other sponsors, you know, Kilsheal and Quarries and Keltec Engineering and Andy Fanning Motor Factors. I mean, you know what, it makes the whole thing a lot easier. Obviously, it's tough for young people in the sport, but I'm lucky enough that way. So you know, it's really good, yeah.
Lovely to hear there from the two guys, and you know, Casey there making reference to the sponsors. You know, it's always good to, you know, to mention your sponsors, because at the end of the day, them's the guys that make the magic happen. So, also last weekend was Bishop's Court, round 2 of the Northern Ireland Championship. I got a chance to catch up with the winners. It was Jonny, Greer and Niall Burns, and then I also speak to Clodagh McMorrow, who was their second ever rally competing as a co-driver, and then Giant Clodagh as, what can we say, Stevie Whitford, top 2 wheel drive and a 1400 Micra. Unbelievable. So, you know, let's hear from them guys.
Yeah, thanks very much, Kevin. Yeah, it was a good day for us. Conditions kind of threw everything at us that we could have really dealt with. I mean, we used, I think it was 4 different types of tire in 6 stages, so it was eventful. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a very good weekend, and everything went to plan. So happy enough.
Yeah, and Niall, from your point of view, like, you're probably leaving home in Donegal, heading up, wondering why you're going to get snowed in, or so it was a bit of a mixed bag of weather.
Yeah, myself and Paddy Robinson actually just decided to travel down Friday evening. We made a call just in case. And we actually landed the track and it was glorious conditions. And we got the first 2 stages. It was mighty. And then all of a sudden, just the heavens opened and that was it. Just got worse and worse for the rest of the day. And there was a lot of standing water in the track. And obviously, you cross over to the concrete sections, it got very slippy later in the day. But, you know, a testament to Johnny's ability there. He kept it right all day and kept us right, you know.
Yeah. And Jonny, like, from your point of view, probably not a bad thing having mixed conditions. It allowed you to, you know, to get the feel of tyres before West Cork coming up next weekend.
Well, that was one positive of it. I think we got to test every tire in the range yet on Saturday, so it was very worthwhile. But I mean, it was just so tricky throughout the day. With the start of the day was very cold, so we wanted to go onto the hard slick from the get go, but that really wasn't warm enough for it. So I had to go with a softer tire. Then we got onto the hard tire for I think 1, maybe 2 stages, and then started drizzle back to the soft, and then it just got heavier and heavier and heavier, and we nearly got caught out in stage 5. We went for like a very soft slick tire, thinking it would be enough, but it hadn't rained that heavy. But with the break in the transforming the track from clockwise and anti-clockwise, it rained the whole time, maybe for about an hour and a half. We kind of misread how much water there was going to be in the track. So when we turned up with the slick, it was just aquaplane everywhere. So we really struggled through the 5th stage, and then obviously had to put the wet on for stage 6. So say we used nearly every tire in the range, which isn't good from a budgetary standpoint, but good from a development standpoint.
Yeah, and you know, and like, what, you know, listen, the Northern Ireland Championship, it has to be said, has gone from strength to strength. You know, the depth of numbers is there now. You didn't have an easy run of it by no manner of means.
No, like you only have to look at the entry list to see how many R5 cars are now competing regularly in the Northern Ireland Championship, and the competition is always going to be there. It's always going to be competitive. I think that's a good thing for the championship. You know, it has had a few years where it struggled to attract the cars and attract the numbers, but I think the last couple of years have been quite strong. So it's, you know, hopefully the championship can build on that and go forward. I think they are going to probably move towards less circuit events, more road based events going forward. I know we had to reduce everything down with COVID and everything else, and we're still building from that. But I think the championship's in a good place, and it is enjoyable events, and the competition's good and friendly, and everything's always a good weekend's fun when you do these events. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So hopefully that'll continue.
Yeah, and Niall, I'm sure you'd echo them sentiments. The events probably suit. You're only like a one day away from. You're not away for 2 or 3 days from work and one thing and another. It probably suits you as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, like the next couple of events, like we can just arrive up for obviously for Shackleton's maybe 40 minutes for me. And just to point on what Johnny said there as well, like, the core organizers of them events, you're seeing the same people at the same events all the time, and the events are fantastically well run. You're seeing the same group of marshals too. You get to be very friendly with them over the years too. And it's just a very friendly atmosphere in them events, and just really look forward to them, and hopefully, as Johnny says, the championship just continuing to go from strength to strength, and good to see the entries there, and hopefully they'll continue now for the rest of the season.
For sure, for sure. And like, when you have drivers like, Desi Henry, Derek McGarty, who's been there like for a lifetime now at this stage, and, what call him, Gareth Sayers and all that, competing, and all in the best cars. I think it's a great championship, and probably an affordable championship in terms of outlay, and as you say, not a long time away from, you don't need accommodation, things like that there. It all helps everybody.
Well, yeah, I think that's part of the appeal of the championship. It is probably based around getting the most sort of mileage out of it with the least time committed to the championship. So that's always good. And there's a class for everyone in the championship now. They have really worked on their class structure and developed it to make it more fair, even for the new cars can compete at a level playing field, and also so the older cars and the more clubman cars can also compete at a level playing field. So I think they've hit the nail on the head quite well. I mean, even this year we've had the addition of the Micra challenge into some rounds of the Northern Ireland Championship, not all, but even that brought a boost to the championship too. So yeah, it's hopefully it can go from strength to strength on this and build on it, but it has got quite a good base now to work from.
For sure, for sure. And like you spoke about the Micro Challenge there, I also speak in this episode, we also speak to Stevie Whitford, and what he done at the weekend, unbelievable. Like coming top two-wheel drive and a 1400 Micra, that's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great to see. I mean, when the rain started to come down, we're in the truck talking about it, and we're seeing Weavy go past, Stephen go past, and we said, there's a good chance he could be fastest two-wheel drive now the rains came on, and then the time started rolling, and I realised he was, but I didn't really realise until the end that someone said he won two-wheel drive. So it was good from us from a club perspective. He's not our club, Ballinhinch club member, so it was great to see, and I think it's good PR for the challenge as well. That the fact that it's so competitive as well, and there's a lot of quick guys doing that. So yeah, I think it was definitely enjoyable to see that.
Yeah, and Niall, I also spoke. It was Clodagh McMorrow who's looking after the PR, but it's something like she done her second rally there, co-driving at the weekend as well, and it's great that the Micro Challenge for the likes of Stevie, but also for young competitors starting out, it gives them a great experience.
Yeah, definitely, especially like it's starting out in like the track events as well. So there's not as much emphasis. There's no pace notes allowed, so you're working up tubes, so you can focus more on the timekeeping aspect of things. And obviously, with the next event coming up, I think it's the Sparns, if I'm right, is going to be the next event for the Micra. So there's a bit of a gap there now that they know the timing aspect now. They can go out and work on pace notes, practice pace notes on closed roads, and be ready for the stages around Mahara shortly. So yeah, definitely, it's great to see the wee budget World Make Championships making a comeback. I cut my teeth in them navigating the 205 challenge back in the day, the Rory Gallagher one. And it's just great to see these budget championships coming back up.
Yes, for sure. That is for sure. And you talk about getting back onto the roads this weekend. All roads lead to West Cork. Jonny, it's an event you always have you always have good runs at it. An event you look forward to every year.
Yeah, always. I mean, the event's always been sort of mixed to me. I've had good years, I've had bad years down there, but I've always enjoyed the rally. Always enjoyed the stages. Last year we had a brilliant run, first time in the C3, and of course it all went wrong in the last stage. But yeah, I think we're confident enough that the car is going to work quite well down there. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting another run at it. We've been sort of trying to do our homework on it and get everything in order. And I think Niall's been flat out trying to get the the notes in order from previous years so that we can try and use some of the advantages we've made, use some of the work we've done in previous years, hopefully give us a bit of a head start. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting down there and getting into it and seeing what the story is.
Yeah, like now, the stages down there, and since it's joined the championship, the stages have become classics already. I know they were there long before the championship, but Ring, Ardmore, they're names now that strike fear into or a zest to get going in them. Maybe a better way for drivers, and I'm sure from a crew driver's point of view, they they provide their own challenges. Those stages.
Yeah, as you say, like you have your stages up here in Donegal that roll off the tongue, like Knockall's Atlantic Drive. You go to West Cork, Ardfield, the Ring, Sam's Cross, they all kind of come off, and they're quite challenging stages, very fast stages too, I have to say. And look, when you get on, they're a pleasure to co-drive on too. Like you take stages like the Ring and Ardfield when you're going right by the water there and everything, like they're fantastic. And it'd be nice now if the weather was going to be on our side too. It's a fantastic place and the sun is shining, but just looking at the early weather indications, it's not looking good. But no, we're looking forward to the challenge ahead, and obviously, we seem to we had a good run in Galway. Car's competitive, we've good set of notes. We're utilising notes from previous years there now, so we're match fit, and hopefully we should have a good weekend.
Yeah. And Jonny, Niall said something there, match fit. Like we always hear seat time is so crucial, and like you've been lucky, you've done Galway, you Bishop's Court there at the weekend, Kirkiston before that. Do you feel in a good place now heading to West Cork?
Yeah, I mean, seat time's always there's no replacement for seat time, and the fact that we've been able to do a few of the Northern Ireland events in between the Tarmac Championships, it just kind of does keeps you sort of moving, keeps you active, if you will. But the more time in the car, the better. The more time everything feels more natural and feels more at home. So we have been trying to make advantages of when we've been using the Northern Ireland Championship rounds to make changes to the car to try and improve. We did struggle in Galway with a few things on the car, which we then took to Kirkiston and tried to make better, which we did in the end. So same with British Court, we went there, as I said before, we tried all these different tire combinations and tire compounds and things to try and get our head around everything. And it's good to use that as development as well as just seat time. But no, if you could, you would do a rally every weekend, but it's that's not possible to do that. But yeah, the more seat time, the better. So it's I can't complain.
Yeah, and this C3, like you debuted it last year, it has gone from strength to strength. It is becoming almost the car to have. What in your opinion makes it that wee bit special?
It's probably hard to put a pinpoint on one specific thing. I know when we first got the car, we were very impressed with the power that it had. The engine characteristics of it, the torque and everything else was very impressive comparative to what we drove in the DS3 and even with the Mark 1 Fiesta. And I think since then the car has evolved from when we first got the car. There has been upgrades came out. There's a couple of different changes of cross members and things that happened at the start of 2022. And Citroen have been just pumping development into the car the whole time. And the package itself is a very good place now. The suspension's now very good. The engine's good. The chassis is good. Everything just seems to work very well. And I think the fact that so many people have come over to the Citroen brand now just sort of shows that it is a car that's going places. And I think I'm not sure you always check this out, but I think someone said to me there that the C3 is the most amount of R5 cars in West Cork. C3 is the biggest amount of R5 cars there is, which is impressive considering this time last year it was only us.
Yeah. So you've been beating that Citroen drum alone for the last few years. It's nice to see others making the jump now as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it makes it more competitive for us. It gives us people that have the cars. It's we all can work together and try and make the car better as a whole. So I think it's a good thing rather than sort of being turned up with the car myself on the rallies and not knowing whether the car was going to work and having to figure things out ourselves. So yeah, the more the merrier.
Absolutely. And, like it looks by Citroen Racing that they're going to continue, like the likes of the Polo has probably reached its peak. Like, that car has been developed, it's been handed over. Volkswagen Motorsport is no more. At least with the Citroen Racing team, they're continually looking at ways to improve the car as well. And that will be fed down through to you guys as well.
Yeah, well, that's a big benefit of being involved with the Citroen brand is that the development's still ongoing. There's no doubt that the Polo was a very good car when it came out, probably head and shoulders above every other R5 car. But with the development not there from the manufacturer, it's very difficult to know what the future holds, maybe the next 2-3 years for the car. So it's good to see it sort of committed to continuing development of the C3 for a couple of years to come anyway, and I think that can only be a good thing. Plus, without the World Programme now, without the WRC programme, they have kind of threw all their eggs into the Rally 2 basket. So yeah, it's hopefully some good developments coming in the future this year as well to move the car forward, because I think the new Skoda will be released, the new Hyundai is competitive. So I think it's the same thing in motorsport. If you stand still, you go backwards. So it's good to see that they're continuing development then.
For sure, for sure. And Niall, from your point of view, like to sit in a top line car on some of the best stages in Ireland, that must give you such a buzz there, like say going out now on Saturday morning, like, even like Bishop's Court or heading out towards Ring on, Saturday afternoon, there must be no feeling like it.
No, there's not. And to be honest with you, it's probably the most relaxed feeling too, because like Jonny is such a good team behind him there, the DGM lads as well, and we work very well on the recce, and obviously Jonny's such a capable driver too. And it's probably, you're right, like it's a great feeling, but it's just surprising how it's so relaxed too, because everything is just clicking and everything is just working, and you just fills you with confidence going out. You just cannot wait to get going, and it's, I just can't wait to get down the road now tomorrow, and pity it's a 6.5 hour road to go down with Stelzer.
But Jonny, when you hear that must give you great confidence, because you know that everybody's behind you, all pushing in the one direction. Everybody's focused on giving you the best car. Niall's there giving you his best performance. It almost takes out all you have to do now is drive. You don't have to worry about any of that, the rest of them things.
Yeah, it becomes easy. I mean, as Niall was saying, when you go to those rallies now, we sort of know everyone in the team has their own role and knows what they need to be doing. And it makes life very simple. I mean, some of these rallies I do very little. I just sort of turn up and everything kind of happens around me. So it's kind of the way I like to be. I don't like to make things too stressful for myself anyway. So it's quite good to have a team around there that kind of know what they need to do, and they know how I operate, so they know kind of when to sort of keep me on my own and let me do my thing and everything else. So it does make it very simple. So I do the easy bit and get all the credits. So I can't really complain.
Yes. So far, so good. I mean, I think there's a total, Clodagh will keep me right on that, but I think there's a total of 25 registered competitors, 16 of which I think are drivers and 9 co-drivers. So, well, that's 2 rallies in now. So we're only 2 rallies in. So it's not a bad start. And there's been 10 cars out, I think, on each round so far. So that's good.
Yeah. And to win not only the Micra Challenge at the weekend, but to take the 2-wheel drive honours in Bishop's Court, it must have exceeded your expectations there, really, did it?
Well, to be honest, I never really thought so much about that. I was just concentrating on trying to win the Micra Challenge or beat Philip White, who's kind of been the guy to beat, over the last couple of years. So obviously then the weather changed. The first 3 stages were dry, and then the rain came, and that's what sort of helped us with a wee bit less power. We were able to sort of capitalise a wee bit on that simply because of the weather,
Mm-hmm. And Clodagh, Stevie's been rallying since Jesus was a boy at this stage, But this is only your second ever rally. How did you find it?
Well, I mean, this week we didn't crash, so that was definitely a bit smoother than the last go about. But look, it was always good to get the first one over and done with in Kirkeston. And it was challenging at times, with the weather. It was so dry, with the snow coming in. We didn't know what to expect. The track was really dry, and then by stage 4, just the rain came down and it was slippy and muddy and everything. So just trying to get used to all the different conditions too, for being so new into it, is a bit of a challenge, but it's good to see it as well, and the different variations that it can be in.
Yeah, and that will probably stand to you, later, because you had the dry conditions, then the damp conditions, and it give you a wee bit of a flavour of everything that rallying can throw at you.
Well, that's it too, and how variable Irish weather can be as well, and up here. So it's definitely a learning curve, but hoping I'm doing all right anyway. But Sean will be the teller of that.
and Stevie, as I alluded to there, now you've been rallying for 30 plus years now. Being back in the Micra, it's almost like going back to your roots. You competed in the Micra Challenge back in '96. It's amazing how the rallying has come so far, but still, it's still the same as ever. If that makes sense.
I know, and I think going back that far, there was a few one make series, as the Micra Challenge, the Peugeots, the SEAT Championship. There was a few one make series over the years, and I think any young driver that's competing in them, I think it always stands by you, and it gives you a level playing field for any sort of young drivers, and that's kind of what we thought with the Micra Challenge. Now, it's very hard to get into the sport because of the cost. I mean, obviously rallying was always expensive, but as the years have went by, it's more and more difficult to get. There's no one make series anymore, and it's just the nature of the modern cars don't really lend themselves to boys going and building rally cars in their shed at night, which is what it was like whenever I started, 30 odd years ago. So that's kind of disappeared, and we're all sort of driving homologated cars, which is good. That's okay, but it's expensive, and it's harder to get young people into the sport. So by creating this, we have an opportunity maybe to access sort of the normal working guy, the electrician, the plumber, the joiner, that type of guy who's just working on a weekly basis, and maybe there has to be something there for them to join. So we decided to do this, and a few of the older guys have all sort of jumped on the bandwagon, and we've got I think the average age is like 49 or something, So there's no young drivers there yet, but I think that's the plan. They can't come until it's there, so you have to actually make it happen.
Yeah.
And then there's something there for them to go to. We've got television coverage with a wee bit of prize money. The prize money was put up by Matthew Humphreys over in England, who supplies a lot of Micra parts, and he kindly donated that, which we can give 150 quid and £100 for not first and second place, because we decided that's not what it's about. It's we have a draw, so it doesn't matter if there was 10 cars out. There's 3 prizes. At least you have a 1 in 3 more or less chance of winning something, to try and get the competitors down the field as much chance of winning as just the same boys that are winning time and time again type thing, So, but hopefully that type of thing, but will encourage the younger guys to come and join the party, if you know what I mean.
What you were saying there about how important one make championships were. Colin McRae, Richard Burns, yourself, Mark Fisher, Ryan Champion, Chris Meek, all these guys come through the one make championship, and it was the launch pad. It was the championship that made them stand out from the other guys, because it was the driver who was making the difference there.
Yeah, no, definitely. And if you take Saturday as an example, if there was a 22-year-old out there and he finished, top 2-wheel drive in a 1400 car, you'd want to give him a hand. You'd want that, because he doesn't have the experience. He doesn't. Clearly, he would have some speed. So if somebody done that and turned up, they would get support. The rally community would, and I suppose I experienced it a little bit myself, where I didn't have the money or whatever. If you showed a wee bit of speed, then people sort of jumped on the bandwagon, and we'll see it with John Armstrong there. The guys up in Fermanagh, clubbed together and tried to get some money to get him to the last round to try and win the junior world championship. So that it creates a bit of hype. So, but ultimately you got to go and do the times to get that. So if there's a platform there that it's a starter, 15 grand-ish could get you a car that could compete with my car. Say my car's maybe 25 grand, but back when I was doing the Micra Challenge in 96, a car was 10 grand. So that's 30 years ago. So it's kind of relevant, So, but if you had a young guy or a couple of young guys fighting for that, and they end up winning 2-wheel drive at a young stage in their career, if you like, people will support them, So.
Because I'm thinking, like a few years ago they had the drive for Rally GB. It was John Armstrong and Rob Duggan and the Northern Ireland Championship, and the hype that created, and that helped to lift the 2 guys to a different level. Yeah. They were pushing each other, and they were finishing in the top 10, 5th and 6th at times, and it just takes 2 takes two to create a real good race.
Yeah. No, exactly. So you need that. First of all, like I said, you need that platform. So then, it's encouraging the younger guys who can cobble together a wee bit of sponsorship or a wee few friends helping them out, try and get them to come and compete. And the Micra, it's competitive. We've proved that at the weekend. You can be competitive with the car. So for a lot less money, let's say. So it's opening to a new, bunch of younger guys who can come in, because there's nowhere to enter the sport. You can't just go and jump in an R5 and, unless you've obviously a lot of money. I mean, I can't rally an R5. I can't afford to. I'd love to, but I can't afford it. So that's okay. I can still get enjoyment out of driving the Micra, and if you do well, you get even more enjoyment. So, it's kind of about that. And I think it's good if you had any young drivers out there and they were doing that. I think it's a stepping stone to actually get some sponsorship, and with the TV coverage and whatever, it can help them,
Yeah, definitely. And Clodagh, you're helping, not only your co-driving, but you're helping to promote the championship. Like, having drivers like Stevie involved in getting the results, that makes your job so much more easier.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it almost writes itself, the posts, when they're performing so well in the rallies and that. Like, the response we've got, so far, has been fantastic. It's great to see people interacting with posts that we're putting up on Facebook and Twitter, which are our main kind of sites and socials for the interest. We've also got a YouTube channel as well, where we're going to post all of the live footage that we get from the film crew. So it's all going to be in the one place, which is great. And we're going to be starting an Instagram as well. So it's going to be a busy few months, really, to get it out and promoted and everything. But it's so worth it when you see how well it's doing. And I think because it is sort of like a resurrection of an old competition from the 90s, people are so happy to see that coming back, and people that I work with even are talking about it. Like, it's brilliant to see that it's extending past almost the kind of rally community and spectators. But yeah, no, it's got great engagement, and mainly it's just trying to get lots of posts and pictures and videos up and get people talking and seeing what we're all about, and as well as that, seeing that there's older individuals as well as younger. We've got quite a few young lads competing as well, so it kind of encourages individuals to come out too, or think, oh, maybe I can do that as well. So
yeah. And the Micra is probably one of those kind of like cross-generational cars. Maybe they remember, McGrady used to have one of them, or the young guy or the young girl, maybe used to have it round the fields or whatever. It's the kind of the car for all generations almost.
Well, that's it too. Yeah, I don't think anyone can say that they don't know someone who had a Micra in the day, so that's it. It's cool to see it actually out on a racetrack, because I know I would never have thought that they'd have the power in them to do what they evidently can do. We've seen that on Saturday, so it's brilliant.
Yeah, and then like having such a professional setup there to record the action. Like I mind chatting to the guys after Crookston, and they says like that was the envy of the main field. And then Stephen Watson from BBC is providing the commentary, and this is top quality coverage that you're providing there for the championship.
Well, that's it too. I mean, it's excellent, and we're really lucky to have the opportunity to have such a platform in our first year of running the competition. And it's brilliant that we're getting the film crews for each stage, and that they're interviewing the crews. So it's almost like you're getting to see everyone on their journey through like episodal pieces per rally stage, so that's really great. And I suppose people are kind of shocked that instead of following the top guys in the R5s or the historics, it is Micra Challenge that's getting the coverage. So again, that's creating quite a buzz, and people are asking questions and really want to see what we're all about. So that's brilliant.
And Stevie, from your point of view, like you're talking about, there's been the old rivalries reignited and one thing and another. Like, it must give you some buzz too to get back and be so competitive again now as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I know I was speaking to James Kennedy at the finish, and I remember, James like rallying a 1600 Mark II Escort when I was rallying the Sunbeam away. That's in the sort of early 90s. you know. So it's great. It's kind of the same faces, you know, that have been around for a long time, and I'm one of them, you know. So no, it's good. It's great. It's good. It's just good back competing, and you know, it's really good, you know.
And then, you know, like Philip White, you know, like what he can do with a Micra the last couple of years, like it's been a joy to watch. And like that's the young guy that is destined for greater things, really, isn't it?
Well, you know, Philip's been, like I said, yeah, he's been the man to beat. And I've done, you know, those few rallies the last 3 or 4 years. And I did beat him one day because his dad left his wheel loose. And actually, the wheel fell off, you know, so thanks to that, Rodney. But up until now, you know, I obviously in Kirkuson we had a really close race. It was only 9 seconds or something, which is only 1.5 seconds per stage, you know. So it's a tight race. So Philip's a great driver and he's done really, really well. So I'm glad to beat him at 51, you know.
And the great thing about the challenge is, like, you have had 2 tracks. Now you're going to have 2 road events coming up. Looking forward to getting back onto the road.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, that's the plan, to do two road events and then 2 gravel rallies. So it's kind of giving it a good mix. It's a long time since I've done a rally. I can't even remember. I think I've done a rally up Ballycastle or Oral Lodge or something in Davy Greer's GT86, and that was the last tarmac rally I've done since, I can't even remember. I don't know. It's probably 10 or 15 years. I don't even know what the last one was, but you know, it's fine. It's the same sort of thing, you know, just go and do it. I'm looking forward to getting on the closed roads and doing a couple of those events, you know.
What was it? Go as hard as you can for as long as you can.
That's it, exactly. It's all about the stage times at the end of the day, you know.
And like, Clodagh, from your point of view, you have the 2 tracks under your belt. Are you looking forward to what challenges the roads will throw up at you?
Definitely, yeah. Hopefully the weather now isn't as bad as it proved to be on Saturday, but a lot of my practices over the last few months has been using pace notes and out on the road, so it'll be a bit more familiar than the tracks have been. So yeah, I'm really excited to get out and to learn as much as I can, and all the guys in the challenge have been brilliant. You know, they've helped me along the way and guided me when I've needed a bit of assistance or things like that. So hopefully that continues and it doesn't get too competitive as the months roll on.
But that has always been the great thing about rallying. Like, everybody, you know, whenever the clock's ticking, yes, it's, you know, that's all, you know, all guns out. But whenever, you know, between stages and one thing and another, everybody's so helpful to each other. There's no egos, there's no nonsense there, really. It's all for the one good.
Well, that's it. It's got a very kind of community feel about it. Everyone just looks out for each other and helps each other, and that's great. So, definitely a good thing when you're so new to it. You know, it's my second rally really under the belt, like, so it's really good to have that support and everyone kind of having your back as well.
And like, Stevie, from your point of view, like, you know, we mentioned earlier, like 30 plus years now at this stage, like, do you still get the same buzz out of it? Would you love to be, you know, 30 years younger and starting again, or do you still get the same kick out every time you go in there and pull on the belts?
No, you do. I mean, you know, especially if you're still able to be competitive as you get a bit older, then the buzz remains there. But, you know, you've been around the sport so long, it's nice to be competing. And as Clodagh said, you know, it's like a small community and it's the same people and it's nice to see somebody like Clodagh coming in, new faces, getting new people into the sport, young people into the sport. Because really, over the last 30 years, for me, it is a dying sport a little bit. You know, there's not, I mean, when I started out away back in 1990 or 91 or whatever it was, you know, 1600 something, there was 40 cars in the class, or 40 or 50 cars maybe in the class. So it was hard to win the class because you had 50 boys all wanting to win the class. You know, so it's changed from that. It's not just like that anymore. As I said to you, you don't have people out, you know, building cars in their garage. You do have a few, but it's getting less and less, you know. And by the Micra Challenge, you're trying to sort of bring that back a wee bit, that it's making it more affordable to a sort of wider audience, where they don't feel, you know, you need 100 grand or 150 grand to start, if you know what I mean, you know, because we need to start somewhere, you know.
Because the last two guys I spoke to before, we were saying, like there's boys coming up through the Rally Sport Association, All-Track, like, and they're 12, 14 years of age, and they're using like a 1200 Micra, and it would be so easy to, for them to progress into stage rallying, and that could be their first car, just upgrade the car as they move along.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's what Philip White had done. Philip had been doing some RSA events in a 1 litre car. I don't know, was he 14 or 15 or whatever, and that, just like you say, that progressed on, and he still got the car, and he's been very competitive, and he was able to do the upgrades as he went along, rather than just trying to go out and buy a car, to begin with. So it's a great stepping stone, the RSA events, for young drivers, and then stepping stone and get them into rallying. The difficulty is that there's no way really into the rallying without something like the Micra Challenge. For them to come from RSA events, what's the next step? An R2 car or something, which is a lot more expensive. So it's trying to bridge that gap to get them into rallying, because that's what we're lacking. We're lacking young people coming into the sport,
Yeah, and not just in drivers, that's right throughout the sport, right from organisers, marshals, everything. We have to get more and more young people involved in this sport.
Yeah. Well, that's Clodagh a perfect example. She's come in and joined Ballynahinch Motor Club, and she's really active and helping out with the PR, with the Micra Challenge, and helping at the club. And her and then her brother came along, and we have a few young people coming into the club. But if you look at most of the club members in Ballynahinch Club, or most of the clubs in Northern Ireland rallying, they're still the same boys, but they're all in their 60s now. And you can't get somebody to come in behind that and take over and become, the head of the motor club, or and start running events and be clerk of the course, and naturally progressing up that. So you need that as well. You need the organisers side as well as the competitors.
For sure. And Clodagh, we'll finish up with yourself. Like, would you encourage more young people to get involved? You've experienced rallying now firsthand. Is it a good sport to be involved with?
It is. It's brilliant. So it is, and like, it can seem a bit intimidating initially to try and get into it, because I know for myself, it was a very male-dominated sport as well, and everyone's a little bit older, so it was just a wee bit, I suppose, scary in a sense, kind of approaching it and trying to get the foot in the door. But I mean, if you get in with a good club and a good crowd, I mean, you've got support there all the way through. So it is brilliant. And the crack's great. It's a great day out. And you just, the networking too, you meet so many lovely people from marshals to club members and drivers and everything. So it is a brilliant experience. It's something I've never really had before. So I'm delighted to have joined Ballynahinch Club, a year and a half ago, and sort of seen how that's developed over time. So it's been great.
That was a fascinating conversation, and great to see new blood coming through the sport there, and hopefully Clodagh could inspire more people to get involved. Also got this chance to catch up with Kevin O'Driscoll. Kevin is one of the press guys behind the West Cork Rally. What Kevin doesn't know about the West Cork Rally is not worth knowing. It's going to be a huge battle down there, Connor. Like, some entry list for it, really, isn't there?
Look, absolutely incredible entry list, and even the reserve list, was fairly decent as well. What can you say? West Cork is a phenomenal rally. Genuinely is. I think this year is going to be a little bit more interesting. Last couple of years we've had decent weather, and then we're looking at mixed conditions for this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. The weather is going to play a huge part in the weather, the rally this weekend. It could make tyre choice very interesting. So. But no point in us waffling on. I think we'll hear from Kevin O'Driscoll, and start it off by asking Kevin, St. Patrick's weekend, it's that time of the year, so.
Yeah, for any, I suppose, rallying fan or motorsport enthusiasts, for the last 43 years, that's been the case, I suppose, and it's synonymous with St. Patrick's weekend. Now, I suppose, in Clodagh in the West Cork region, that the West Cork Rally is a strong part of the calendar now. It's like other events around the country, like, Rose Tree in certain times of August, all these sort of things. It's just one of these things that the local calendar has built into it at this point,
Yeah, and like, for so many years, it was the hidden gem of Irish rallying, and then it became part of the Tarmac Championship back in 2015, 16?
15, yeah.
15.
Yeah.
And, it really has, like, it was already a brilliant rally, but it has really rocketed in people's estimation in that few short years.
Yeah, I suppose it has. I mean, yeah, hidden gem. It's funny. It was more of a hidden gem from within Ireland than maybe even the UK. There was always a strong UK from day one presence. I suppose maybe the lack of being it wasn't the national championship throughout the 80s, so to the forefront. Then in the 90s, it wasn't. It was part of the year's Motoring News Championship. I suppose. Yeah, it was funny. It was always a near halfway house. It was a kind of a rally that a national champion might go and do before he progressed on to the tarmac championship, because obviously the level of competition was going to be a bit higher. But like we always knew that the rally itself was capable of being being up there with the best of them. It could run with the best of them. Like any rally, you could have good and bad years as well. But yeah, it is, and I think maybe some of the catalysts for this. But I would personally, I'd probably give some credit to Brian O'Connell, one of our ex clerks of the course, where around the time of the I suppose the bus back in 2008, they got the Citroens and the Mitsubishi Evo Challenge to come to West Cork. And I suppose how I see it is back then you had the likes of Sam Moffat, you had Martin McCormick, it's the C2 Challenge. So a lot of younger drivers who might never have done West Cork, or might never have kind of sampled it, were suddenly starting. Joe McGonigal is another guy actually that would have come down a bit. Robert Barrable would have come and done it. Peter Barrable, sorry, his brother. And that probably brought it in the younger generation. It got it up a little bit more. And then I suppose to progress it, like everything is about continuous improvement, and how do you make things better without losing the character of the event. And like the character of the event has always been very easygoing, relaxed, whatever, especially with UK, English, Irish, Scottish, Welsh, Manx crews even coming over, and everyone just mixes, everyone gets on well. And I suppose when the club decided to try and see if the tarmac championship would work for them, I think it's worked very, very well for both sides. Yes, definitely worked for us because we're getting the top quality caliber driver back again that we mightn't have seen rallying in West Cork since the early 80s, when everybody was using it as a testing ground prior to the circuit. Whereas now, it's firmly ensconced in the calendar, and drivers do seem to like the event. It's competitor friendly. I think the organising team there are they're good guys. They've competed themselves, so they know pretty much what a competitor wants. And to keep it simple, the town as well is a huge thing. The backing in the town is just incredible, that they just buy into it, and the businesses there, and they all support it. And it's probably, like you could say, a match made in heaven in terms of that, because the club, like when the rally started, the club were formed with somewhere looking to locate a rally somewhere, and in a town that was looking to bring an event into it, just to kind of boost their tour season early on. And that's how it all started, So, and it's still working well, year on year. We have an excellent committee down at Clodagh as well that, smoothing out the edges. They do an awful lot of work behind the scenes. That some clubs aren't fortunate enough to have that, where they have to look after their own, I suppose, facilities in terms of, even bringing bales in. Like, the guys in Clodagh, they do that, and they do a lot of work for the club, and it works well. They do bounce off each other very, very well, and they communicate, and they collaborate. And I think that's an awful lot of it. The communication is good there.
Yeah, like I've always found, anybody you ever mentioned West Cork to any competitor, the first thing that they always say is the reception they get from the people. If you go into a petrol station, you're welcomed in. You go in to sign on. Everybody's so happy to see you there. They're delighted you made that journey there, and I think that's a huge part of it. It's like, yes, the stages are becoming classics in their own right, but it's the friendly welcome from not just the organisers of the event, it's the people in the surrounding areas. Clonakilty has really took the rally to its heart.
Yeah, it has. But look, I could say the exact same about Letterkenny when I go to Donegal. It's the same thing. It's just that, you are made to feel welcome. It's always nice when you're travelling a distance and people are willing to make the effort to help you in any way they can. The Chamber of Commerce of Clonakilty have been very, very kind to us the last number of years, and the crews as well, where they've they've given vouchers out to crews who've taken part, to the tune of maybe between 50 and 100 euro to each crew starting. And, they're redeemable in almost any business in Clonakilty, and obviously that's going to breed more business. So that's, it's a clever scheme, and it's like a gesture of goodwill, really. And I think I think the crews do appreciate that. But look, as I said, they've always worked well down there. They've always been very into promoting the rally. They see it as very important to the tourism season down there. The rally itself, because there's 4 clubs in Cork, there's 4 motor clubs. So obviously territory is always it's tight, and the rally can only run within certain boundaries, really, from Rosscarbery over as far as maybe Ballinspittle, which isn't too far from Kinsale. Now, obviously, in last number of years, with the routes getting more compact and just make it more driver friendly, we probably haven't spread the wings as much as we would have had once upon a time. Like an early West Cork Rally would have gone all the way from Clonakilty to Bantry and back again, whereas obviously that's not practical or feasible these days. But nonetheless, as I said, it's always been a very kind of social rally in the sense as well. It was a bit earlier start this year, but in the past it would have started a bit later as well, and a bit more kind to anyone, trying to, I suppose, get over the previous night's revelries. But sure, look, that's not even a thing anymore now. Anyway, for crews like it's gone, serious now. So obviously spectators might, but not the crews anymore. But it is. There's always a good atmosphere there. Everyone from the staff in the Clonakilty Park Hotel, the business around town, they welcome it, and it all adds up. And as I said, you could have good years, you could have bad years, but by and large, I think it's a formula that works.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then we'll get onto the stages. Ring, Ardgrim, they're already become the stages that the competitors are really looking forward to. They are being rated up there amongst the best in the country. You've probably known this for a lifetime, but it's great to see other people that getting to know them and really appreciate them as well.
Yeah, I think so. It's going back to what you said earlier on about being hidden gem, but stages are as good as anything you'll find in the country anywhere. I'm convinced that. I mean, there's even stages being tweaked, that mightn't have been used for a long, long time, and there's still areas you can probably go back and do. A lot depends on the scheduling and what you can fit in now as well into it. Obviously with refueling and everything else, and general, everyone likes the idea of centralized servicing and all that kind of stuff. So you're not going to go too far away from there. But Ardfield and Ring would probably be the 2 classics. Yeah, like traditionally Ardfield would be a Sunday morning stage or Saturday morning stage back in the really early days. Glandore was a stage that not used anymore, but that was a stage. But Ardfield was Saturday morning. Ring used to be Sunday morning. Didn't for years. The last number of years, it's actually the roles have been reversed. So Ring is now tend to be more Saturday and Ardfield Sunday. But yeah, I mean, there's other good stages: Sam's Cross, Ballinscarty, Clodagh. They're all Shanaway, which is part of Rossmore stage. They're all known in their own right, and it's just what you need to do from year to year is try and tweak them and change them around and reverse them, and just I mean, there's several other locations that we haven't been to for a number of years that we'll maybe look at doing again at some point. But for now, this route this year anyway, they're using maybe a sections road they might have used in 10, 12 years, so all that's all good as well,
Yeah, because you don't want the thing becoming stale either. Yes, you want the classics, but you need to mix it up a wee bit as well too, don't you?
You do. I mean, this year's Ring now would be more along the lines of what people would see the classic Ring, the fast version of Ring, whereas last year was a kind of a combination of Ring and Dunworley, which was only bought for maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago, maybe not even that long. And Dunworley is its own stage this year alongside Ring. So, you could do that from time to time as well. You split the stage in half and run them different directions and all that kind of stuff. But there's lots you can do, and you're still getting, the guts 240 kilometers out of all that at the same time, So it's a fast event, but it's not motorway fast. They're flowing, as Killian has probably alluded to in the past as well. They're technical as well, the stages, they're not straightforward. They can be fairly unforgiving as well if you're, trying to be overbrave with things.
Yeah, and we always talk about driver stages. There's stages that time can be lost very easily, but also stages where time can be gained. It probably favors the braver driver, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, there are brave sections and brave areas in those stages. I suppose Ring and Ardfield would be the best known of them, but they're also the widest maybe stage because they're coastal roads, really. So they'll be a little bit more straightforward, but going further inland, yeah, there's obviously presents its own challenges. Your farmyards, and you have, crests and a few little jumps and narrow roads and just, a few little lefts and rights and things like that. But at the same time, there's I suppose you could argue, or you could say there's something for everyone in those stages. There's nothing boring about them anyway.
That's for sure. And what an entry list this year! It's just mind blowing once again. It is, it's as good as you'd see anywhere in Europe.
It's actually good. I mean, it's very similar to what you have in Galway. To be fair, there's a good buzz about Irish rallying at the moment. I mean, the Midlands last year, there's guys out there with R5 cars. I mean, if you put everybody that that's not on the list. Some Midlands, you would have a European standard rally in terms of if everyone is out and about. But yeah, it is. It's a strong, it's a competitive list, and it's pretty broadly similar to what you had in Galway, and we know how Galway turned out. So Galway was an excellent event. So for competitiveness and drama, I suppose, and everything else, and I don't see any reason why West Cork wouldn't be any different. There isn't an awful lot. Really, Robert Barrable and Josh Moffat are the only previous winners on the list. But that's not for the want of trying, from the others. Sam in particular being close a few times as well. And when Donna Kelly was dominating the rally back in the day with the Focus, these guys were always on his tail somewhere or other. Declan Boyle was another one that was close by a few times. I think, and like Marion, Callum, Johnny Greer, they all took fastest times last year. Desi's had good runs down here in the past. Gareth is the only one of the top 10 that's never been to West Cork before. So that'll be, probably more of a learning curve for him. But, as I said, people learn quickly. I just always think of Mark McGee coming down from Donegal back in 2007, the only time he did West Cork, and he set fastest Mark June ring. So, as I said, it's the kind of thing that if you're brave enough, you'll get a result there, It's not always about the previous local knowledge or whatever either,
it seems to be the kind of stages where you don't have to be a veteran, of doing it 5 or 6 times. You can seem to come along and jump in and go quick. The year the BRC.
Yeah, it certainly helps. It does help to an extent, but I don't think it's a be all in all. Like some places, there's, I think like a brave driver, a good driver will get a good result. Even last year, looking at the modified list, Daniel McKenna had a seriously good run there last year as well. And Daniel had never done West Cork up to last year. Or Chris Armstrong, and they're both back this year, which is good to see. Jason Black was another, actually. So it's nice to see those guys come back for a bit more. There's talent on that list, all right. There's no question.
That's for sure. And you mentioned earlier how good Galway was. Like the Tarmac Championship is in such a good place at the minute. Whenever you have guys who are so keen to get involved and to sign up to the championship, it speaks volumes for Irish rallying at the moment.
I think it does, yeah. Look, even as I said, going back to Midlands last day for the national as well, it's very healthy in both fronts, and that's great to see because there's room for 2 good championships in Ireland. It's not going to suit everyone to have 2-day rallies or 3-day rallies, and it's good to see obviously some guys, and you can see maybe an element in the Midlands of Josh. Went out last year, won the championship because he was out every second weekend. I'd say the 2 guys maybe might have wised up to that a little bit this year, like Callum, and maybe saying this might be the way to go. The seat time is probably the big winner, I think. But yeah, it is. It's in a good shape, and just as long as it all, I suppose how would you say, you do get good years, you get bad years. It's shaping up to be a really good year at the moment, a really competitive year. Lots of guys are, coming forward, like the Citroen, as I said before, Galway seems to be the car. They're all going for that one now. Desi's out to making the switch now as well, I noticed. So that'll be another one there. But like Johnny Greer had a superb outing in the Citroen last year. He was very unlucky to return near the end of that rally.
That's right. It was in the last stage, wasn't it? He spun.
Yeah, he squashed the exhaust. The car wouldn't go any further, and he was sitting up there with the fastest times. So Johnny's always gone well in West Cork as well. So there's a few there, and we're moving down to the modifieds as well. You'll see the likes of Kevin Eves, who's got good results. Gary Kiernan has, Jason retired last year. Conor Murphy, has done rally a few times, done well. Daniel McKenna had some very, very good results in the past. William Crichton has been an interesting one. He had a super result last year, 7th overall in the Rally 3 Fiesta. So a bit more pressure this year now. We need a couple of R5s behind him and a couple of fast Mark 2s in front of him. But
I think he's remember last year, he finished within a hair's breadth of Rob Duggan and the Mark 2.
That'd be me. I think so. I'm just trying to remember how the times were modified out, or how the last year obviously was split between modified national or and international.
Fields,
yeah. Whereas they should all together. But I think he was quite close. He was 7th overall. I think Rob would have been fairly around that. And James Stafford as well last year. William was on a massive pace last year. But
I've been beating the drum about the Rally 3 Fiesta. I think it's a fabulous wee car. But
it's hot. But he can drive it. There's no question. He can drive it
without a doubt. The result he had there in the JWRC. I really do hope this is going to be William's year because he's such a lovely lad and a fantastic driver. As well too.
It's really good, and I think it's really good. This has gone back, in terms of the event. It's brilliant that he's really warming up for his next round of his WRC, as I see it, just to come to West Cork. Callum Devine did the exact same a couple of years ago when he had the small Fiesta as well. It does fit in the calendar nicely for that, and they will get they'll have good roads to practice on and a good competition around them to try and, keep a good solid pace there, so.
It keeps them sharp, yeah. But, at the top of the field then, Josh Moffat, car number 1, Josh had the almost perfect year last year. It's great to see that, that he's been given a harder time this year, but you'll be a fool to discount Josh come next weekend as well.
Josh will be under pressure next weekend, but then look, we said that several times last year. There's even an event or two last year where we mentioned that maybe he might struggle, and it didn't matter. He got results because he was consistent. He was mature in the driving. I just think, look, he won't be far away. He's been second twice in West Cork in the past as well as winning it. So I think of all the drivers that are there, he's the best record of anyone there. The guys are lining up behind him. Robert Barber has won the Valley in the past. So Rob always goes really well and went exceptionally well in Galway too, to be fair to him. So look,
I think the first time
you could throw any one of the you could throw a dozen names at that hat, and it all depends who wakes up Saturday morning and who has who gets through. And the conditions again, like if it's a fully wet rally or fully dry rally, is it a damp rally? It all depends on who wakes up and who gets on it. But I don't think anyone can afford any great time loss Saturday. It's if anyone loses a minute or two, they're in trouble straight away early on. So
yeah, I know even been talking to other the competitors. It's not even a puncture now; it's a half spin. It's a
half spin. Yeah, we saw it in Galway.
Yeah,
we saw that in Galway with Sam and Josh. It did cost them in the end. So as I said, it'll be intriguing. It'll be really, really interesting to see that first stage time at Clodagh, which is a difficult stage enough to start with. Not the most forgiving of stages, or maybe unlike some of the other ones. But yeah, look, as I said, it's something different again. I think it was maybe 5-6 years since they ran that as the opening stage, and even at that, there's a bit added to it as well. So it's not quite the same stage, but it is a tricky stage to start with. And look, I think you'll get a fair idea. I think actually a lot of the sorting that you'll see will probably happen in the first stage or 2-3 stages, maybe the morning loop anyway. The stage of Saturday afternoon would probably be, the Ring and Particular would be quite a fast stage. Dunworley is relatively fast as well. So I think the time that'll be gained will probably more likely come from the first quartet on Saturday morning on those stages. So that's what I'm thinking.
Killian said in Galway, the guys at the front, the first 2 or 3 cars they were really going for it. And then, car 8 or 9 on the road was coming in and punching in at time. I think Cork's going to be the same as that, especially on the first day. Like there's, the top 15, 16 guys, they're all going there thinking, well, at least top 5 at minimum, and maybe higher.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, like David Guest is a local. Owen Murphy's on the Valley a few times. I know Owen hasn't as much seat time. David has a bit of seat time got. Even David Kelly, like, it went really well in Galway. Did the Rally last year, had no great luck. There's a couple of guys there on the fringes of the top 10 that
Cal McCarthy, local man there too.
Cal, exactly. Yeah, Cal has finished top 10 as well last year. And I said another Citroen, and he was a vicious coach yesterday. So I mean, yeah, they're all look. It's going to be hard. I mean, you probably would boil it down to, hedging here, the top 10 guys are there. There's maybe 2 divisions of 5 in that, but there wouldn't be much between any of them. At the same time, if anyone gets a good run, even Garrett, who's never done the Rally, like Garrett's had a good pace since he came back. So I think
and some great times there in Galway. So to spend time there.
You see, they've all had a big rally out. Well, most of them have 2 rallies, but they've all had one big rally behind them now at this stage, and they know from Galway, I suppose, what's required, what they need to do. And this is the interesting part now, to see how do they react to what went on in Galway and how they respond to that as well.
For sure. And then Callum and Josh and Sam as well have had the Midland done below their belt as well too, which will do them no harm.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, Marion, we can't rule him out either. I mean, there's serious drive in Galway, second last year in West Cork, and I mean, if he was to win, it would only be the second time that you'd have a father and son combination winning the Rally. Michael Barber and Robert have both won West Cork, and I think Marion would like to emulate his dad as well, who won it twice.
Yes.
So, and I suppose we've kind of skipped over him a little bit there unintentionally, but definitely you have to watch him. He's definitely going to be there.
I said to him after Galway, I think there's a different Marion this year. He seems more focused, more driven. I think the Ulster Rally finally lifted that shackles off his back last year.
It did, and there's a couple of guys there on the edges that you feel that if they could take one win, it could open the door. I mean, Can McCourt last year in West Cork, I know he had an accident, didn't finish, but that was the first rally last year where he started punching in fastest times and started showing his real pace, and that was in the Fiesta. And I think Galway proved that the Citroen could bring him another level again if he could just, I suppose, a little bit more consistency and a bit of luck. but definitely you could see his times in Galway were much more consistent than what he was getting last year.
For sure.
You know,
Desi Henry's in that
you know.
bracket. Johnny Greer's in that.
Desi's that.
bracket.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys there that really deserve an international. Robert Barber has never won an international, but they've been close and they've led rallies and they just haven't got over the line. And you know, it would be nice to see someone new on the list as well, because a lot of those guys would deserve to take the honours. You know, but at the end of the day, you know, it's just being consistent. Maybe having that bit of luck as well along the way, but you have to start punching in the times regularly like that. You know, and that's how Josh had rallies last year where things weren't going well. But nonetheless, he was always there or thereabouts. Even in the worst of his rallies, he was still keeping the times in the top three.
Wherever I was there to capitalise and everybody else had issues.
Ready to capitalise, exactly. And that's the key to it. You know, point of blowing it all away, doing 3 great runs and then having, you know, a half spin somewhere and 30 seconds gone and all the morning's work undone, you know.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then, you know, in the modified, you know, the guys you mentioned, the Callaghans, you know, coming down as well there, you know, Ed and Chris both there too, you know, on their day, they can be as quick as anybody.
Well, Ed has finished 6th overall in the rally in the past, back in the day when, you know, I suppose when it was a big national rally, but Chris never did West Cork last year, but didn't go too far, unfortunately, but it went off road early on, but has matured a lot and got a lot quicker as well. And I think he'll go well. John Bonner has always gone well there. Barry Mead is a quick driver. Colin Byrne, obviously, Cork driver, very quick. You know, Frank Kelly's been coming for a long time. There's lots of guys there. You know, Jack Newman, Eddie Doherty, Conor Curley, all these guys. There'll be a good battle going on with those guys. You know.
Yeah, and I think we should give a shout out to Conor Curley. He was champion West Cork. You know, a long, you know, like it must be nearly 20 years ago now. I think it was. 06,
he was, his first 06, Joe Callan came down in 06, persuaded him. I met him in Donegal a few times and persuaded him to come down, and he did come down. He enjoyed it. This is 6th or 7th West Cork now, I think. Now we missed it for 10 years or so, but yeah, he's mad for road. He's probably slightly relieved that he doesn't have Craig being directly behind him. He told me last night, so there's 2 cars between them, but he'll be I know Conor's a good lad now.
Isn't it amazing? We've had this chat and we've never mentioned, you know, Craig Breen's coming as well.
Yeah, as I was scrolling through the list here, I noticed it here. Yeah, it's interesting to see how the Sierra go in that company now. Obviously, it's an interesting one, and just I see Paul back in with him as well. So, you know, it's a bit of crack for him, and he's got his number 42, which is World Rally number as well. So that's you know, so it's a nice one.
He's not running the class 14 along with, you know, the 2.5 guys. But no doubt coming
the modified car.
Stages, they'll be watching.
No, he'll be looking at times. Guaranteed, he'll be looking at times. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, look, it's a bit of fun for them as well, and it's nice to see that as well. As you know, look, it's nice to see back with Paul again, just to see how they get on, and you know, an iconic car as well. You know, so it'll be good. See how it goes. Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, he's a C3 in front of him, James Ford, and he has an Evo behind him, a very fast Evo, and Vincent McSweeney, good local driver. So, you know, look, nobody's going to be hanging around.
No, they'll all keep him honest, no doubt about it. So, you know, where can we expect to see the crews? Is there a ceremonial start on the Friday evening?
The ceremonial start on the Friday evening, so Shanley's Bar, which is near the Water Wheel in Clonakilty, and and then service areas in Darragh, and then. So Saturday morning, they're going to starting with service, and in the first stage, it's actually early by West Cork times this year. It's 9:30, first stage, 9:37 actually. It's going to Clodagh, Ballinascarty, into service after every 2 stages, so there'll be 8 stages on Saturday, and then there's 2 stages twice in the afternoon in the Ring and Dunworley, as I said earlier. Then into Park Ferme for the night, which is the showgrounds, which is next to the hotel in Clonakilty Park Hotel, or title sponsor and headquarters for the past 20 plus years. And Sunday then we have we service again in the morning. Then we have 3 stages for starting at 11:06 with Shanaway, and into service after 3 stages, and then 3 more stages again, Shanaway, Sam's Cross and Ardfield to round off. And that's pretty much it. I'm looking at it here actually. I think Ardfield is probably, I don't have it exactly. I think Ardfield is actually the longest stage of the rally, so that's a real sting in the tail to finish. Just short of 20k. Like, it's a good finish to the rally.
Yeah, because if it got into the last stage and there's a few seconds between them, you know, either overall or in the classes or whatever, you know, it's going to be put it all on the line on that last stage.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and it is a seriously good stage, and it's a reverse this year. It's not even the normal run of it. It's fully the full version in reverse, which I can't recall when they've done that anytime recently, so they've done bits of it in reverse, but they haven't done the whole lot, the full length of it in reverse. So that'll be a challenge in itself now, and of course you have the juniors out all day Sunday, and you'll have the historics out from Saturday afternoon. They start in stage 5, and then on Sunday then they'll be seated into the main field based on their times, so.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, Kevin, thank you very much. No doubt the competitors are in for a real treat, and the lineup there, the spectators is going to be in for a real treat there as well.
Yeah, I think so. And before I go again, I'd like to just, welcome people to Clodagh and have a safe weekend, obey the marshals and all that. And also, obviously, a big shout out to our title sponsor, the Clodagh Park Hotel. They've been excellent sponsors over the years, facilities, everything else. And our associate sponsors, Clodagh Johan Ready Mix and Clodagh Black Pudding as well, for their support as well. And all the guys down there that helped put it together is a very strong team down there that help all that, including the townspeople of Clodagh, everything, everyone helps, and that's what it's all about, really. That's what it's all about. And hopefully we won't see you down this year, Kevin. I think you said you're still not able to make it down.
No, it's definitely on the bucket list.
You'll have to put it on the bucket list. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Sure.
Well, as I said. Yeah, but as I said, like before, you'll be able to see Chris Hyland will have the live streaming again for the weekend, HM production. And Killian is going to be down doing the stage production interviews. So you're going to have Best of All Worlds, the live action, the service area, and the stage end talk. So there'll be plenty to keep people going over the next few days, or next weekend, I should say. Yeah.
So thanks again to Kevin, and as I said there towards the end, HM Productions and On the Pace Notes covering the event for us unfortunate people that's not going to be there, Also, we should give a shout out, Gary McElhenney was co-driving for Seb Perez there in the Mallorca Classico at the weekend. They won the rally for the 3rd time, great to see. Huge range of events on this weekend, obviously West Cork, the 1,000 Acres in America, Rally Mexico, and other numerous events across the globe. So hopefully we'll have plenty to talk about again next week. Once again, thanks for all the views, downloads, listens, whatever you want. It's been bonkers this last few weeks, and we can't thank each and every one of you enough. It's just blown us away completely. So can you please keep sharing, rating, commenting, subscribing? All those things makes a huge difference to us, and it's greatly appreciated. So that's episode 8, season 2. So until the next time, take care, speak soon, and bye.